So I've recently tested out the 2023 motocross range that Fantic have to offer, and yeah, I mean, first things first, they do feel different to the Yamaha. You know, that the YZ, the 252 stroke and the 250F, they've got a little bit of a different feel. Yes, I know that you know, the foundations are Yamaha. Most people will ask, you know, is it the same engine and so forth. But first of all, I'd just like to, you know, just to talk about the rider's feel. So first off, I rode on the XX125, and the bike was on point. It was crisp. First of all, the power delivery felt nice. It felt a little bit different than the other manufacturer that I'd mentioned, and credit where credit's due, really. It does have a little bit of a different feel, and that feel was that the bike normally there is maybe a little bit of a delay, or you know, just maybe you can sense, or you have to ride around a little bit of a delay. And on that bike, I didn't have to do that. It just felt like it was cleaned out, it was polished. So when I say that, the little bit of a delay, that normally there can be a little bit of a spot, especially on the style track that I was riding, which was an old school blue groove, you know, off cambered, up and down hills track, which normally you could maybe get a little bit of a lag, which comes standard on the YZ125. You can easily clean that out, but Fantic have already done that for you. So, you know, with the modifications that they've done, you can definitely feel a difference. That difference is an advantage. You know, when I spoke to the Fantic technicians, they explained that really it's you know, a different exhaust system, so front pipe and silencer, different airbox, different ignition, which is dual map ignition, and their carburetor spec on a 2022 YZ125 engine. So the engine is the new up-to-date engine. It's not the old previous one. And when I was asking obviously the questions, because the biggest question is, you know, is it different to a YZ? Is it the same engine? And pretty much yes it is, but it's just been refined to Fantic spec. With asking them kind of questions as well, they explained that, you know, that they can have the recent engines within, I think it's after a two month window. So when the new engine come out, the YZ125, which I really rate, you know, they had that straight away 2 months after. So then they made their little tweaks and their preferences, what they felt would be best, and then obviously sell that bike. So for me, it was probably down to the airflow. I really liked across the motocross range as well that you've got easy access to the airbox, so you can change your air filter. But we know that there's a lot of power to be gained depending on what you do with the airflow. So that is definitely something that manufacturers do work on and do get right. So for me, you know, the bike in all was a real pleasure to ride, and I really enjoyed it, especially on that old school track. It's not for everybody's liking, but you can really get a good feel for a bike. Manufacturers for a number of years now have pretty much used the same base models across all their range with obviously different engine sizes. Also now we're in that era where manufacturers are pretty much using the same bikes but different spec and selling them at different price ranges. So Fantic is no different. You know, it's no different, except for what was real apparent to me was not on when testing all the bikes, but behind the scenes when I was watching how they operate and what they do as a team and a development team. They really do put their touch onto the models that they have for sale. The 125 and suspension wise, you know, it was so predictable. It felt comfortable out on track. All the levers, you know, again, all good. The map switch, definitely a noticeable difference there between the two, which was nice as well, because sometimes you really do struggle to find a little bit of a difference, or you're splitting hairs. But there was definitely a noticeable difference there. For me, the bike did seem to be a little bit more free revving for whatever reason that was. Also as well, the power curve, it just felt more a little bit longer and linear. So it really allowed me to stretch out the power and to hold out them gears a little bit longer, which which was a massive plus on them, some of them descents and coming up some of the long hills, stretched long hills. It was a good bike to ride, and it was a lot of fun, and I definitely put some hours in on that bike as well. The XX250, again, it shares the same foundations as another manufacturer with their own again touches, such as exhaust system, ignition. It's got a dual ignition system there as well, which again, was different. But also as well, the piston as well, I've told that they've gone for a different kind of spec piston, which they found a little bit more durable for their spec and their engine. The track was quite hard, slick, and it's a 250. The power is known to be a little bit more punchy. It's a little bit more of a bulbous curve on the Yamaha engine. I know the 250 engine well, and I was kind of thinking, I wasn't really, not that I wasn't looking forward to it, but it was just like I knew that I'd have to concentrate a little bit harder than wringing its neck like I was on the 125. But I was pleasantly surprised, and how that surprise come was, again, that power curve just seemed to be a little bit stretched out, a little bit linear. Also as well, it just seemed more usable. There was an off-cambered left-hander coming back up to the hill, which switched back to a 180 right, and just hanging the bike out there and just kind of leaving it in that gear, and then even managing to use all the power and then hook up another gear just to take the right-hander as it descended back down the hill, because you had some good forward momentum. The bike just didn't struggle with that, and just allowed me to make them gear changes and to be able to ride in that rev range. So again, it's credit to the development team. They've put the finer touches onto the bike, made a difference. Whether that be for every track, I don't know, but this track in particular, when I was there and I was riding, take the bike straight off the stand, set the levers, and off we went. I was impressed, and I was comfortable. So they're the main things, and fun. They're real fun to ride. I saved the 4-stroke to last. In all honesty, I must have done about 2 or 3 sessions on the 125 and 2 on the 250F, and probably I did one 30 minutes on the XX250. And again, I don't want to repeat myself time and time again, so it's kind of the same deal as the 125 and the 250 in terms of spec, but I love that engine anyway. So the engine's proven as far as I'm concerned. The connection's good, the power range is good. It's got a good drivable power out on track, and again, Fantic have just put a few little touches there and made the bike a little bit their own, certainly in style. Out on track, the bike, it was comfortable. The power delivery is ample for on a 250F, and clutch feel, traction, connection from throttle to rear wheel was all spot on. They've got some plans regarding with the 250F as well, so you can really tell that they're going to be doing some more development with their team and progressing that on a little bit more, which I think then you're going to see more of their own touch on that bike in the coming years, definitely. The bike, it's got a cool image. It looks cool. So yeah, if you're fancying something different, a lot of people have messaged me and said, what do I think of the bike, and would I buy one, or and I'd certainly buy one, definitely. Just to top off my day, I rode a little bit of enduro, so I went and just experience. I just wanted to experience the facility, to be honest. So I'd already spent most of my day, well, all of my day on the motocross track, and I just wanted to go and ride some enduro through the woods and just to see what the course was like, and kind of get a little feel for for enduro, just while we're abroad really, and you know, that's it. You know, I love to ride bikes, so I took the 250 enduro, I took the 250F enduro bike out, and again, you know, comfortable. Normally I always find that the bikes are quite soft and you know, a little bit spongy, or you know, the power's, it needs a little bit refining. But actually the circuit offered quite a lot in terms of rock, definitely a lot of rock, and some tight sections, some off cambers, quite a few bumps, and then there was a, you know, there was a little bit, let's say, out in the open there, a little bit more of an open kind of motocross track, and it was good. I enjoyed riding the bike. You just have to commit, get into it. It's definitely a bike that needs to be tested and pushed, ridden a little bit hard. So it's certainly aimed for the enduro racer more than the trail, just in hobby trail riders, just because of the setup. And that's not to say that, you know, that you're not going to like the bike. It's just that I felt the more that I pushed the bike, or the better the bike felt. So yeah, definitely enjoyed riding that bike. I'd recommend that if you're up for an image change and you want something a little bit different. It's certainly a good package. Fantic are doing some cool things. It's not just motocross. They're into a lot of different things across the board, and it's pretty cool actually. When I got shown around the factory of what they're planning, and where they've come from, and where they're planning to go. It reminded me of the KTM brand many years ago. You know, I can remember when they took on Stefan Everts, and they had this big vision of selling X amount of bikes per year and being the #1 in the off-road market, and it kind of had that feel. I'm not saying that they're going to do that, but they're certainly reaching for the stars.